Jack Miller tightened his tie and took a deep breath. The hallway of the United Nations Space Station Harmony felt too narrow, too confined. After 15 years as a Marine and 5 as a diplomatic security officer, he had never felt this nervous. Today wasn't just another assignment. Today, humanity would officially meet aliens for the first time. "You look like you're about to be sick," said Dr. Elaine Wright as she approached. Her calm smile made Jack feel slightly better. As the lead xenobiologist on the human diplomatic team, she had spent the last 6 months studying everything they knew about the Zorvak. "I'm fine," Jack said. "Just don't like going in blind. We know almost nothing about their biology, their customs, their triggers. Makes it hard to do my job." Elaine patted his arm. "That's why I'm here. 6 months of communication has taught us a lot. They seem peaceful, curious. This meeting is just a formality before discussing trade agreements." Jack nodded but couldn't shake his unease. The Zorvak ships had appeared in Earth's orbit half a year ago. After the initial panic, communications revealed they were part of a vast confederation of alien races that had been watching Earth for decades. Now they wanted to officially welcome humans to the galactic community. The door at the end of the hallway opened. Commander Susan Hayes stepped out and waved them over. "They're ready," she said. "Remember the briefing. No sudden movements. Follow the greeting protocol exactly. The whole world is watching this broadcast." Jack followed Elaine into the large conference room. The lighting had been dimmed slightly to accommodate the Zorvak's sensitive eyes. 5 aliens stood on the far side of the room, tall figures with smooth, pale blue skin. Their forearms ended in 3-fingered hands and their elongated heads housed large, dark eyes. They wore flowing robes adorned with what looked like military medals. Jack positioned himself slightly behind Elaine, scanning each alien carefully. Their delegation was led by Ambassador Klezoth, the tallest of the group. Through translators, the initial greetings went smoothly. "We are pleased to finally meet the representatives of Earth in person," Klezoth said, its voice coming through, the translator with an oddly musical quality. "Our studies of your world have fascinated us for many cycles." Elaine smiled. "We are honored by your presence, Ambassador. This marks a historic day for humanity." The meeting continued with formal statements from both sides. Jack remained vigilant, but started to relax slightly. The aliens seemed genuinely peaceful, even friendly in their odd way. They discussed potential technological exchanges, cultural understandings, and the basic framework for Earth to join the galactic community. 2 hours into the meeting, Elaine began explaining human social structures. She used her hands to emphasize points, a habit Jack had noticed during their preparation sessions. "Many ways our family units might be similar to your pod structures," she said, making a circular motion with her finger. Ambassador Klezoth suddenly stiffened. Its 4 eyes widened and its breathing quickened visibly. Jack tensed, moving his hand closer to his concealed weapon. "That gesture," the alien said through the translator. "You mock our sacred death spiral." Before anyone could respond, the ambassador moved with shocking speed. 2 of its upper limbs shot forward, wrapping around Elaine's neck. She gasped, her face immediately flushing red. Jack didn't hesitate. Years of training took over as he lunged forward. He grabbed the alien's primary arm, using a precise pressure point technique that would incapacitate a human. To his surprise, it worked. The ambassador howled in a high-pitched tone as its grip loosened, but it wasn't letting go completely. Jack shifted his weight and executed a combat move he had perfected in the Marines, a combination grapple and nerve strike. He wrapped his arm around the alien's neck-like structure while applying pressure to what he hoped was a sensitive cluster of nerves. The room erupted in chaos. The other Zorvak shouted in their language. Human security personnel drew weapons, and Commander Hayes yelled for everyone to stand down. Jack maintained his hold, applying just enough pressure to restrict but not harm. "Let her go," he said, firmly. "Now." The ambassador's limbs trembled, then released Elaine. She collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Only then did Jack release his hold. The alien stumbled backward, its 4 eyes fixed on Jack with an unreadable expression. Security. Breach, clear the room, Commander Hayes ordered. Human security rushed in, separating the two delegations. Medical staff attended to Dr. Wright, who was shaken but conscious. Jack found himself pushed against a wall, his arms held firmly by 2 security officers. What the hell happened? Commander Hayes demanded, her face pale with fury. It attacked Dr. Wright without warning, Jack said. I neutralized the threat with minimal force. Through the chaos, Jack noticed something odd. The Zorvac delegation was not protesting. Instead, they were gathered around Ambassador Klezoth, who was staring at Jack with what almost looked like respect. Within minutes, the Zorvac requested to return to their ship. Communications went silent immediately after they departed the station. The human delegation was left in disarray, with Earth's governments preparing for possible retaliation. 3 days later, Jack sat in a small office aboard the station. He had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The incident had been broadcast live across Earth and had probably doomed humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Miller, you have a call, an officer said from the doorway. Jack followed him to the communications room, expecting to face another review board. Instead, Commander Hayes was waiting with General Alan Porter from Earth Defense Force. Sit down, Miller, the general said. His expression was unreadable. We've just received a transmission from the Zorvac. Jack's stomach tightened. Sir, I followed protocol for... They're not declaring war, Hayes interrupted. They want you. What? General, Porter played the message. The translator's voice came through clearly. The human Jack Miller has demonstrated the warrior spirit we thought absent in your species. His defense of his colleague against a superior physical opponent shows courage worthy of respect. The Galactic Peace Summit approaches. We formally request Jack Miller represent Earth's interests. Only one who has proven their strength can be heard in galactic matters. Jack stared at the screen in disbelief. You can't be serious. Deadly serious, Commander Hayes said. Apparently in their culture your actions weren't an offense, they were impressive. I'm not a diplomat. I'm security. You are now, General Porter said grimly. The President is reviewing the invitation, but early indications are we'll accept. Like it or not, Miller, you just became the face of humanity to the galaxy. Jack looked down at his hands, the hands that had subdued an alien ambassador and somehow earned Earth an invitation to the stars. This was not how he had imagined first contact would go. When do I leave? He asked quietly. 1 week, Hayes answered. You've got a lot to learn before then. Jack nodded slowly. 1 week to prepare to represent an entire planet. All because he had strangled an alien who was trying to kill his colleague. The universe, it seemed, had a strange sense of humor. Jack Miller sat uncomfortably in the large meeting room at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The wooden table gleamed under bright lights. Important people in expensive suits filled the chairs around him. Jack felt out of place in his plain black suit, the only formal clothes he owned. 3 weeks had passed since the incident on the space station. 3 weeks of military alerts, emergency drills, and constant news coverage. Everyone on Earth expected the aliens to attack. Instead, they had invited Jack to a peace summit. Secretary Richard Bell cleared his throat. Let's review the situation again. The Zorvac have requested Mr. Miller specifically to represent Earth at the Galactic Peace Summit. They seem impressed by his physical response to their ambassador. Dr. Elaine Wright sat across from Jack. Her neck still showed faint bruises from the alien's grip. I've been analyzing their messages. In Zorvac culture, physical prowess is highly respected. They don't start wars over physical confrontations. They see them as tests of character. General Alan Porter frowned. That doesn't mean this isn't a trap. They could be luring us into a false sense of security. If they wanted to attack us, they could have done it already, Elaine said. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Jack shifted in his seat. I still don't understand why it has to be me. I'm not a diplomat. I don't know anything about alien politics. That's exactly why they want you, said a new voice. Everyone turned to look at the door. A tall alien with blue skin entered the room. Unlike Ambassador Klezoth, this alien had darker markings on its face and arms. It wore simpler robes without medals. "Emissary Tevrak," Secretary Bell said, standing quickly. "We weren't expecting you to join us." The alien made a gesture that looked like a small bow. "I wish to explain our request personally." Its words came through a small translation device attached to its robes. Jack studied the alien carefully. He noticed how everyone in the room tensed as Tevrak moved toward an empty chair. "Please continue," General Porter said stiffly. "The Zorvak. Confederation includes 17 species across 28 solar systems," Tevrak explained. "Many are physically stronger than humans. Some possess mental abilities you would find concerning. Yet your Jack Miller, when faced with a threat, acted decisively and effectively against a physically superior opponent." The alien turned its large eyes to Jack. "In galactic politics, strength is respected. Not just military strength, but personal courage. Many species doubted humans possessed such qualities." "So the attack on Dr. Wright was a test?" Jack asked, feeling anger rise in his chest. "No," Tevrak said. Ambassador Klezoth genuinely misinterpreted the hand gesture as a grave insult. His reaction was inappropriate but real. Your response, however, changed many minds about humanity's readiness for galactic politics. Secretary Bell leaned forward. "And now you want Miller to represent us at this summit? He has no diplomatic training." "That is precisely why he must go," Tevrak said. "The Galactic Council values authenticity. Professional diplomats are seen as masks that hide true intentions. Jack Miller has demonstrated Earth's true nature." Jack didn't like how everyone discussed him as if he wasn't in the room. "Don't I get a say in this?" The room fell silent. General Porter gave him a warning look. "Of course you do," Dr. Wright said softly. "But Jack, this could be humanity's only chance to join the galactic community peacefully." Jack looked at Elaine's bruised neck, then at the alien emissary. "What exactly would I need to do at this summit?" Tevrak's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Represent Earth's interests. Meet representatives from 12 major galactic powers. Some will be friendly. Others will challenge your right to be there." "Challenge how?" Jack asked. "Various forms of tests. Some intellectual, some physical, some difficult to explain in human terms." General Porter snorted. "So it is a trap." "It is politics," Tevrak corrected. "No different from your Earth politics, only with higher stakes and different customs." Jack thought about it. He had joined diplomatic security after leaving the Marines because he wanted to make a difference without fighting wars. Now he was being asked to represent his entire planet. "If I agree," Jack said slowly, "I want Dr. Wright to come as my advisor." Elaine looked surprised. "Jack, I'm not sure that's—" "You know more about alien cultures than anyone else here," Jack interrupted. "And I trust you." Secretary Bell nodded thoughtfully. "That's not unreasonable. We should send a small team to support Mr. Miller." "The invitation includes provisions for advisors," Tevrak confirmed. "The summit begins in 2 weeks at the Galactic Council headquarters near your Proxima Centauri star. Our ship can transport your delegation. 2 weeks isn't much time to prepare," Jack said. "We will begin your education during the journey," Tevrak said. "It is important you understand the basics of galactic protocol." The meeting continued for another hour. Plans were made, teams selected. Jack would be accompanied by Dr. Wright, a military liaison named Captain Nathan Wells, and a diplomatic advisor named Liz Garcia. Later that evening, Jack stood at the window of his temporary apartment, looking at the New York skyline. His phone rang. "Miller here," he answered. "It's Elaine. Can you talk?" Jack sighed. "Yeah, still trying to process all this." "I wanted to thank you for requesting me as your advisor," Elaine said. "After what happened with the ambassador, I wasn't sure if I would ever work with aliens again." "You're the best person for the job," Jack said simply. "Besides, I need someone I can trust up there." There was a pause before Elaine spoke again. Are you scared, Jack? He watched lights flicker across the city. Terrified, he admitted. One wrong move and I could start an interstellar war. Or you could help secure humanity's place among the stars, Elaine said gently. The Zorvak chose you for a reason. They saw something in you that impressed them. I just did my job. Maybe that's exactly what Earth needs right now. Someone who does what's necessary without overthinking it. After they hung up, Jack continued staring at the night sky. Somewhere up there, alien civilizations were waiting to meet Earth's representative, a former Marine who had choked an alien ambassador. If the situation wasn't so serious, it would be almost funny. 1 week later, Jack stood with his small team at the newly built spaceport outside Washington, D.C. The Zorvak ship hovered above them, a massive silver vessel that gleamed in the morning sun. It was time to journey to the stars. Ready? Liz Garcia asked beside him. The diplomatic advisor looked as nervous as Jack felt. Not even close, Jack replied honestly. But let's go make history anyway. A beam of light engulfed them, and Earth fell away beneath their feet. The journey to the Galactic Peace Summit had begun. The Zorvak ship Stellar Harmony moved through space faster than Jack Miller could imagine. Earth was now just a small blue dot behind them. Jack stood at a large window, watching stars streak by in strange patterns of light. Amazing, isn't it? Liz Garcia joined him at the window. The diplomatic advisor had spent most of the first day studying files on alien customs. Never thought I'd be in deep space, Jack said. Let alone as Earth's representative. Liz smiled. You're doing better than most people would in your situation. Jack wasn't so sure about that. The weight of responsibility felt crushing. One wrong move from him could affect humanity's future for generations. Ambassador Miller? A musical voice called from behind them. Jack turned to see Krazat, a younger Zorvak who had been assigned as their cultural guide. Just Jack, please. I'm not really an ambassador. Krazat's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. According to Galactic Protocol, the primary representative of any world holds ambassador status. Your official training begins in 1 hour in the central chamber. After Krazat left, Liz gave Jack an encouraging pat on the shoulder. Ready for your first lesson in galactic diplomacy? Jack sighed. About as ready as I'll ever be. The central chamber was a large circular room with walls that seemed to shift colors. Captain Nathan Wells and Dr. Elaine Wright were already seated at a crescent-shaped table when Jack and Liz arrived. Several aliens of different species sat across from them. These are representatives from allied worlds, Krazat explained. They have agreed to help prepare you for the summit. Jack studied the aliens carefully. Besides the blue-skinned Zorvak, there was a short, stocky creature with rough, bark-like skin, a tall, slender being with 6 arms and iridescent scales, and something that looked like a floating ball of light contained in a mechanical suit. First lesson, Krazat announced. The Galactic Council structure and key players. For the next 3 hours, Jack struggled to memorize the names of 12 major galactic powers, their territories, basic customs, and political positions. His head throbbed with information. The Voidwalker Collective will be your greatest challenge, said the bark-skinned alien named Grun. They opposed Earth's invitation to the summit. They believe younger species should prove themselves worthy before joining galactic politics. And how exactly do we prove ourselves worthy? Captain Wells asked. The floating light being called Aerith pulsed brightly. Through various tests, some planned, others spontaneous. Jack rubbed his temples. Like attacking one of our diplomats to see how we'd react? The chamber fell silent. Krazat's skin darkened slightly, which Jack had learned indicated embarrassment. The incident with Ambassador Klezoth was not planned, Krazat said carefully. But your response revealed much about humans that changed many minds. Dr. Wright leaned forward. What exactly did Jack's actions reveal about us? The 6-armed scaled alien, Shitha, answered. That humans, despite being physically weaker than many species, possess quick decision-making abilities and effective combat techniques. That you protect your own. That you use appropriate force rather than excessive violence. And that makes us worthy of joining your council? Liz asked. It makes you interesting, Grun rumbled. The galaxy has many strong species, many intelligent species. Few combine strength with restraint. After the session ended, Jack retreated to his quarters. The room adjusted to Earth-like conditions automatically, which felt both welcoming and strange. He sat on the bed reviewing notes on his tablet. A knock sounded at his door. "Come in," Jack called. Krizat entered, carrying what looked like clothing. "These are traditional diplomatic robes for the summit. They have been adjusted for human comfort." Jack took the robes, which felt surprisingly light. "Thank you. Can I ask you something, Krizat?" "Of course." "Why are the Zorvak helping us, really? What do you get out of bringing humans into galactic politics?" Krizat was quiet for a moment. "May I speak freely without diplomatic filters?" Jack nodded. "The galaxy is unbalanced. The Voidwalker Collective grows more aggressive each cycle. They respect only strength. Other powers seek technical advancement above all else. The Luminari Alliance pursues spiritual concerns." Krizat's four hands made a complex gesture. "Humans are interesting because you seem to balance many qualities. You build technology but question its purpose. You can fight but prefer peace. You are individual but form communities. So we're some kind of galactic balancing act? Perhaps. Or perhaps we simply find your species fascinating." Krizat moved toward the door. "There is something else you should know. You have become somewhat famous among my people." Jack blinked in surprise. "Famous? For choking your ambassador? For being the first human to engage in physical diplomacy with a Zorvak and succeed? Some call you the Strangler. It is meant as a compliment." After Krizat left, Jack lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Famous for strangling an alien. Not exactly how he'd planned to make his mark in the universe. Days passed in a blur of lessons, simulations, and meetings with various alien representatives. Jack learned about complex political histories, trade disputes, and territorial claims. He practiced diplomatic phrases in 5 different languages. He even underwent physical training to prepare for potential ceremonial combat challenges. One evening, as the ship approached the Proxima Centauri system, Jack found Dr. Wright in the observation deck, looking at the approaching star. "How are you holding up?" he asked. Elaine smiled tiredly. "I should be asking you that. You're the one carrying Earth on your shoulders." "I'm surviving. Not sure if I'm learning enough fast enough, though." "You don't need to be perfect, Jack. That's why we're here with you." She pointed to the growing star ahead. "That's our neighbor, the closest star to our sun, and now it's where humanity will either join the galactic community or be rejected." Jack stood beside her, watching the star grow larger. "Did you ever think when that alien was choking you that it would lead to this?" Elaine laughed softly. "Not exactly. I thought I was going to die. Then you appeared and, well, made history. Apparently." An alarm sounded suddenly. Red lights flashed throughout the observation deck. "What's happening?" Jack moved instinctively to protect Elaine. The ship's communication system activated. "Security alert. Unauthorized access to engine control systems. All personnel report to designated safe areas." Jack's security training kicked in. "Someone's trying to sabotage the ship." Captain Wells rushed into the observation deck. "Miller, the Zorvak security chief requests your assistance. Someone doesn't want us reaching that peace summit." As Jack followed Wells through the corridors of the alien ship, he couldn't help but think that galactic politics were turning out to be just as dangerous as he'd feared. Earth's future hung in the balance, and somehow he was the one who had to secure it. Jack raced through the corridors of the alien ship with Captain Wells. Red warning lights flashed overhead as they followed a tall Zorvak security officer named Vector. "Someone has broken into the engine control room," Vector explained as they ran. "We believe it is a saboteur trying to prevent Earth's delegation from reaching the summit." They reached a sealed door where 2 injured Zorvak guards lay on the floor. Dr. Wright was already there checking their wounds. "They're alive," she told Jack. "But whatever did this was strong." Vector handed Jack and Captain Wells each a small rod-like device. Defensive weapons. They emit a pulse that disrupts nervous systems in most species. Jack tested the weight of the weapon in his hand. Any idea who's in there? Our sensors detected a Krell life form, Vector said. They are members of the Voidwalker Collective, strongly opposed to Earth joining the Council. Captain Wells activated his weapon. What's the plan? The door will open for 10 seconds, Vector explained. We enter and subdue the intruder without killing them. We need to know who sent them. Jack nodded. This was familiar territory, security work, not diplomacy. Ready when you are. Vector pressed a series of symbols on the wall panel. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, a massive creature was hunched over a control panel. It stood nearly 8 feet tall with thick gray skin that looked like stone. Its 4 eyes swiveled to face them as they entered. Humans should not meddle in galactic affairs, the Krell roared. It slammed a fist down, breaking part of the control panel. Alarms blared louder. Jack didn't hesitate. He moved forward, weapon raised. The Krell charged at him with surprising speed for its size. Jack fired the pulse weapon, but the Krell barely slowed. Their skin deflects energy weapons, Vector shouted. The Krell swung a massive arm at Jack. He ducked and rolled, years of combat training taking over. Captain Wells fired from the side, distracting the creature. Jack noticed a pattern in the Krell's movements. It was protecting its lower abdomen. A vulnerability? He waited for an opening, then darted forward, striking at that spot with his fist. The Krell howled in pain and stumbled backward. Jack pressed the advantage, using the handle of his weapon as a striking tool against the same spot. The creature dropped to one knee. Vector moved in quickly, slapping a device onto the Krell's neck. The saboteur froze in place, paralyzed by whatever technology the Zorvak had used. Engine control systems damaged, announced the ship's computer voice. Shifting to backup systems. Repairs required before continuing to Proxima Centauri. Liz Garcia rushed into the room. Is everyone all right? The entire ship felt that collision. We're fine, Jack said, breathing heavily. But our arrival at the summit might be delayed. Kurzat entered next, looking at the subdued Krell with all 4 eyes wide. You subdued a Krell warrior? Without specialized weapons? Jack shrugged. I noticed it was protecting its lower section. Seemed like a weak point. Kurzat turned to the other aliens. Inform the ship's commander, and notify the Galactic Council security team about this incident. 2 days later, the repaired ship arrived at their destination. Jack stood at the main viewing window, staring in awe at the massive space station orbiting Proxima Centauri b. The station looked like a giant wheel with spokes extending from a central hub. Hundreds of ships of various sizes and shapes moved around it. The Galactic Council headquarters, Liz said, joining him at the window. Home to representatives from over 50 spacefaring civilizations. It's incredible, Jack admitted. I never imagined anything like this. Your actions against the Krell saboteur have already reached the Council, Kurzat said, approaching from behind. It has improved your position. Jack turned to the alien. What do you mean? The Voidwalkers hoped to prevent your arrival, or at least make you appear weak. Instead, you defeated one of their warriors using observation and skill rather than overwhelming force. It supports our argument that humans bring unique qualities to galactic politics. A shuttle transported them from the main ship to the station. Jack wore the diplomatic robes provided by the Zorvak, feeling strangely formal. The Earth delegation was given quarters in the diplomatic wing, surprisingly Earth-like in design. They've studied us well, Captain Wells commented, examining their accommodations. Jack had little time to rest. Kurzat soon arrived to escort him to a preliminary meeting with the Council Reception Committee. Remember the protocols we practiced, Liz reminded him before he left. And remember, you've earned the right to be here. The council chamber was enormous, with rising tiers of seats arranged in a complete circle. Representatives of dozens of species filled many of the seats, creating a dizzying array of forms, colors, and sounds. In the center of the room stood a tall, thin being with skin that seemed to shimmer with light. This was Grand Arbiter Zelnor, the ancient and respected leader of the Galactic Council. Earth Representative Jack Miller. Zelnor's voice somehow reached Jack clearly, despite not seeming loud. You come before the Council as the first human to attend our gathering. Jack bowed as he had been taught. I am honored to represent Earth, Grand Arbiter. Not all share in welcoming you, Zelnor continued. The representative of the Voidwalker Collective wishes to speak. A large figure rose from one of the higher tiers. This was Delegate Shrilak, a different species than the Krell but clearly part of the same alliance. Its voice boomed across the chamber. Humans are too primitive to join our council. Their technology is barely beyond their own atmosphere. Their understanding of cosmic principles is infantile. We demand the traditional challenge of worthiness before they are granted even observer status. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Krazat leaned close to Jack. This is unexpected. The challenge is rarely invoked anymore. What exactly is this challenge? Jack whispered. A series of tests. Mental, physical, and something we don't have a human word for. It's dangerous, potentially fatal. Grand Arbiter Zelnor raised a Kai's slender hand for silence. The collective has the right to demand the challenge. Earth Representative, do you accept or withdraw your petition to join the Council? All eyes in the massive chamber turned to Jack. In that moment he understood that this was why he had been chosen. Not for his diplomatic skills, but for his willingness to face challenges head-on. Jack stepped forward. Earth accepts the challenge of worthiness. The chamber erupted in sounds, some approving, others clearly concerned. Through the noise, Jack noticed a slim, elegant alien watching him from the middle tier. Unlike the others, this being, whom Jack recognized from his studies as Ambassador Aurina of the Luminary Alliance, simply nodded slightly, as if confirming something. The challenge will begin tomorrow, Grand Arbiter Zelnor announced. Prepare yourself, human. The fate of your world's place among the stars rests upon your performance. As Jack was escorted back to the Earth delegation's quarters, he wondered what he had just gotten himself into. But one thing was clear. The real test was just beginning. Jack barely slept that night. The challenge of worthiness weighed heavily on his mind. Earth's future in the galaxy depended on him, a security officer who had never planned to be a diplomat. Morning came quickly. Krazat arrived at their quarters, with formal robes for Jack to wear. The challenge has 3 parts, Krazat explained. Physical, mental, and spiritual. Few have completed all 3 in recent memory. Liz helped Jack adjust his robes. Remember your training. You've faced worse odds, have I? Jack asked quietly. Dr. Wright placed a hand on his shoulder. You stopped an alien attack without killing anyone. You prevented a ship sabotage. You've been doing the impossible since this started. Captain Wells nodded in agreement. Earth is counting on you, but we're right here with you. When they arrived at the challenge arena, hundreds of aliens from different species filled the viewing areas. The arena itself was a large circular space with walls that seemed to shift and change color. Grand Arbiter Zelnor stood in the center. Earth Representative Jack Miller, approach for the challenge of worthiness. Jack walked forward, trying to look more confident than he felt. The physical challenge will commence first, Zelnor announced. You will face a combat test against a Voidwalker champion. A large door opened on the far side of the arena. A Krell warrior stepped out, similar to the saboteur Jack had fought on the ship, but even larger. It carried a staff that crackled with energy. Your weapon, Zelnor said, presenting Jack with a similar staff. Jack took the weapon, testing its weight. It felt strange in his hands. Begin, Zelnor called, moving away from the center. The Krell charged immediately. Jack barely had time to raise his staff to block the first blow. The impact sent vibrations through his entire body. The Krell was incredibly strong. Jack knew he couldn't match the alien's strength. Instead, he relied on speed and agility, dodging attacks rather than meeting them head-on. He remembered the weak point he had discovered during the ship sabotage. The Krell grew frustrated as Jack evaded its powerful strikes. It began to attack more wildly, leaving openings. Jack waited for his moment, then struck quickly at the alien's lower abdomen. The Krell stumbled backward in pain. Jack pressed his advantage, striking again at the same spot. The Krell dropped to one knee, Jack could have delivered a final blow, but instead he stepped back and lowered his weapon. "I won't strike an opponent who can't defend themselves," Jack said clearly. The arena fell silent. Then, surprisingly, the Krell placed its staff on the ground, a gesture of surrender. "The physical challenge is complete," Zelnor announced. "The human has shown both skill and mercy. Proceed to the mental challenge." The arena walls shifted, forming a new configuration. A table rose from the floor with what looked like a complex three-dimensional puzzle on it. "This is a luminary thought matrix," Zelnor explained. "You must discover the pattern and complete it. Few non-luminary have ever succeeded." Jack approached the puzzle cautiously. It consisted of floating crystals of different colors arranged in what seemed like random positions. He studied it carefully, trying to find connections between the pieces. Dr. Wright had trained him on alien logic systems during their journey, but this was far more complex than anything they had practiced. Jack noticed something familiar in the arrangement. It reminded him of star maps they had studied. He began moving pieces, trying to recreate the patterns of major galactic territories. Time passed as Jack worked. The audience watched in silence. Finally, he placed the last crystal. The entire puzzle glowed brightly, then reformed into a miniature map of the galaxy. "Impressive," Zelnor said. "The human has completed the mental challenge. Now comes the final test, the spiritual challenge." Jack turned to Krizat. "What exactly is a spiritual challenge?" Before Krizat could answer, the arena darkened. The eye-gap walls and floor seemed to disappear, leaving Jack standing in what felt like empty space. Lights like stars surrounded him. "The final challenge tests your core values." Zelnor's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Face your truth, human." Suddenly, Jack wasn't alone. Ambassador Klizoth appeared before him, the same Zorvak he had strangled weeks ago. "You believe your actions brought you here," Klizoth said. "You think you proved human worthiness by stopping me." "I protected my colleague," Jack replied. "Nothing more." Was it protection? Or was it a desire to prove human strength? To show aliens that humans cannot be dominated? Jack considered the question honestly. Both, perhaps. "I acted on instinct to protect Dr. Wright, but I won't deny feeling satisfaction in proving humans aren't weak." The image of Klizoth nodded. "And if humans join the galactic community, what will you bring to it? What makes humans worthy of a voice among the stars?" Jack thought of Earth's history, its wars and cruelty, but also its art, its compassion, its endless curiosity. "We bring balance," Jack said finally. "We understand both conflict and peace. We build technology but question its purpose. We're individuals who form communities. We're not perfect, far from it, but we strive to be better. That striving might be what the galaxy needs." The starry void around Jack shimmered. Klizoth's image smiled. "A truth recognized is a truth embraced," the ambassador said. The spiritual challenge is complete. The arena reappeared around Jack. The gathered aliens were watching him intently. Grand Arbiter Zelnor approached. "Human Jack Miller has completed all 3 challenges," Zelnor announced. "The Council will now vote on Earth's petition to join our community." The vote was conducted in silence, with representatives touching panels before them. Jack waited, anxiously, watching the Grand Arbiter's face for any sign of the outcome. Finally, Zelnor spoke. "By majority decision, Earth is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Jack Miller will serve as Earth's first official ambassador." Relief washed over Jack. He had done it. Earth now had a place among the stars. Ambassador Ori Na of the Luminary approached him as the formal proceedings ended. "You have made history today, Ambassador Miller." "I still don't understand why I was chosen," Jack admitted. "Sometimes the universe requires unusual solutions," Orina said with a gentle smile. "The Zorvak saw in you what the galaxy needed, a blend of strength and restraint. Not everyone can strangle an alien and then be invited to a peace summit." 1 month later, Jack stood at a podium in the United Nations Plaza on Earth. Behind, Him stood Dr. Wright, Liz Garcia, and Captain Wells, his team and now close friends. Before him stretched a crowd of thousands, with millions more watching on screens worldwide. Today marks a new chapter in human history, Jack began. Earth is now part of a larger community of worlds. The galaxy is vast, complex, and sometimes dangerous, but also filled with wonders beyond imagination. He paused, looking at the clear blue sky where, invisible to the naked eye, ships from a dozen alien worlds orbited Earth. Our journey to the stars began with a misunderstanding and nearly ended in violence. Instead, it led to understanding and peace. That might be humanity's greatest strength, finding opportunity in our mistakes and growing from them. As Jack concluded his speech, a new space station was being completed in Earth orbit. It would serve as humanity's gateway to the galaxy, appropriately named New Harmony. And it had all begun because a former Marine had strangled an alien ambassador and somehow turned it into the greatest diplomatic success in human history.